Welcome to Emerge and Empower Podcast TV, a platform where resilience meets transformation. Here, we amplify voices that have faced trials, trauma, and adversity, stories that inspire hope, healing, and empowerment. Every episode brings raw, unfiltered conversations with individuals who have risen from hardship, embracing faith, strength, and purpose. Join us as we break the silence, uplift one another, and emerge stronger together. New episodes air Wednesdays at 6 p.m. English and Saturdays at 6 p.m. with select Saturdays in Creole for our Haitian audience.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Emerge and Empower with Dr. LinJ. This is yet another segment called Unapologetically You. You're not apologizing for who you are today. This particular segment, though, we will be talking about being authentically. What does it mean to be authentically you, thereby being unapologetically you? Women wear so many hats, and most of the time you put yourself on the back burner. You're living, maybe you're firstborn, and you're living based on how your family brought you up, or you're a mother that's sacrificing so much for your children, or you're a grandmother that is still investing solely into your children that you've forgotten about yourself. Maybe you're a teacher that has sacrificed so much to make sure that your students have certain needs. So whatever it is that you're doing today, by being you, I want you to be authentically you without apologizing for being the woman that you are today. So today we would have Tina with us that will be joining us shortly, and we will be going through what does it mean to be authentically the woman that she is today. Stay tuned.
Emerge and Empower Podcast TV with your host, Dr. Dr. LinJ, where real people share inspiring stories of faith, resilience, healing, and transformation. Every conversation is designed to encourage, empower, and remind you that your past does not define your future. Your purpose does. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more on Emerge and Empower Podcast TV.
We are back on Emerge and Empower with Dr. LinJ for this segment called Unapologetically You. And let's welcome our guest on today. Tina, welcome back to Emerge and Empower with Dr. LinJ. How are you?
I am great. I'm so excited to do this show with you today.
Yes, I'm so excited. And again, I said welcome back because on Emerge and Empower, we always welcome our guests back so they can say what happened or what transpired between the last time that they were on. And when I asked Tina earlier, she said, I've just been busy, and busy is good. But at the same time, I want you to be authentically who you are. So since this segment is called Being Authentically You, we're going to open up with the question for you of what does living authentically mean to you today?
Living authentically means that you value yourself. I'm the oldest of 4 children, and my mother said from the time I was 4 years old, you're responsible for the younger children. So there were 3 siblings, and I must have heard it a million times. You're responsible for the younger children. And it took me years to realize they're all adults now. They don't need me to be responsible for them anymore. They're
Right.
good. They're living their lives. And I need to stop feeling that if they have a bad day or there is a crisis, that somehow I have failed them. And my mother never turned that off. So living authentically meant that I had to turn off that subconscious programming. I'm not responsible for their happiness anymore. They
Right.
are. And that
Right.
was a really huge step.
I can relate being a firstborn. I carried the firstborn hat into marriage. And for a while, I was like, wait a minute, these people are grown. I have done what I already need to do. In the Caribbean, they tell you it's like as a firstborn, they follow the leader. Whatever you did, you have to make sure that you're doing it the best that you can of your ability. You have to make sure that you graduate because everything that you do, the younger siblings are going to mimic. And therefore, if you don't do that, the blame falls back on you being the firstborn. So for a long time, yes, I had to be the firstborn. So I definitely can relate to what that's like for you on today. So was there a time that you felt that you had to hide, though, parts of yourself to be accepted?
I felt, I would say yes, because I do a lot of psychic things. I have psychic ability, so that's the right brain part of me, but I'm a retired naval officer, so I have a left brain part of me. And sometimes I have a pretty good level of intelligence, so I had many occasions where I had to really soft pedal that and not
Mm-hmm.
appear to be too bright, or you can be intimidating. I don't mean that to sound egotistical, but
Mm-hmm.
when you're in the Navy, they don't think you can do anything. So somehow you have to be able to convince them that you're competent, but that you know, it's almost like, do you know your place? Well, I knew that my place was where they were going to put me,
Mm-hmm.
but I was unapologetically ambitious enough to figure out how to leave that place and open up doors, not just for myself, but for the other women who were going to follow me. I was
Right.
given the opportunity of lifetimes. And I had to kind of educate the men around me, especially in the military. I
Mm-hmm.
saw it in college, I've seen it afterwards. So to to live authentically, you have to carry enough wisdom to know when to really push forward and when to temper what you're doing
Right.
until you have an opportunity to really shine that in a karmically correct way. So it's always kind of walking this straight and narrow path, not just for
Mm-hmm.
my siblings, but uh, in other ways, especially being as a naval officer. I have 3 children. So there's a lot of guilt associated with a working full time mom.
Right.
I had one guy tell me after I was about to retire, he said, "Are you going to be a full time mom now?" I remember
Wow.
my engineer stepped away and he said, "It's going to get ugly." And I said, "Are you a part time dad when you're aboard a submarine?"
Come on. Come on. Come on.
And
I
he
like
said, "Of
that
course not." I
response.
said, "I have never been a part time mom. I have strong, independent children who are
Mm-hmm.
going to do great things in this world. But I have never, ever been a part time mom. And if you want to attach that label to me, it is not going to stick."
I love it. That is being unapologetic. I love that. And I applaud you for that because as women, we have to know, yes, we wear actually so many hats all at the same time. So he is now trying to tell you that the whole time while you were in the naval side of things that you weren't wearing your mom hat. And so now he's trying to say, oh, so that's what you're going to be now? But what most people don't realize is women, we're wearing all of these hats, alternating back and forth, and still trying to be the best version of ourselves to our children, our family, our job. So there's so much that you have to show up for all at the same time.
Absolutely. And I had so many people hand me a gold plated ticket on the guilt train
Wow.
just because I was a naval officer. Or you can't really be a good Navy wife if you're also working full time.
Hmm.
In fact, this was such an issue in the early 70s, because I joined the Navy in 72, so I'm ancient as
Okay.
hell. But several Air Force wives took the Defense Department to court because their husbands couldn't be promoted if they worked full time.
Wow.
So there were a lot of us who opened up doors for other women, And they could no longer include that in an officer's fitness report that their wife worked full time, because they actually, I saw that in my evaluation. So I was unapologetically competent.
Yeah.
I'm a really, really good mom. I have 3 amazing children who are independent because I wasn't gripping them. I wanted them to be able to be accountable and still have a successful life. That's
Yeah.
a very fine line. So I treated my children like I was grooming junior officers to
There
be
you
ready
go.
for the future. Worked out really well. I have a great relationship with my children and their spouses.
Wow. I mean, what you just said here is a lot. Not only is it a lot, but you basically show that you paved the way historically, okay, for women. You and the other wives went through this experience, took them to court so that women today who might have it not even realize what it was like for you as a wife back then. Because you said in the 70s, that's dating it back. That's even dating it even before I was born. You understand?
Right.
So through the years, I can say most of the things that we enjoy today, someone paved the way, someone sacrificed, someone had to, like you, live unapologetically to say, no, I'm not apologizing because I'm a full time wife. All right. I can do this and I can still raise my children. And you said today that you could see the fruit of that labor. So it shows that you was not an absentee mom, right? You were there and you are getting your children ready for the real world. All right, on today. So since embracing the let's say the authentic self, what has changed most in your life?
From an excited point of view, because I have sort of a natural level of self-confidence. I think I came in that way. I was able to open up door after door after door for other women. I was the first female instructor in the history of Naval Submarine School.
Wow.
I opened up
Woohoo! Come on, let me
jobs.
celebrate that a little bit.
They
Woohoo!
said, you're at sub school and you're going to open mail, but what would you really like to do? And I said, I want to teach class. And he looked at me and he said, women don't teach class. And I said, how hard can it possibly be? Men do it. He did not laugh, but he also didn't forget. So I had to play the politics of how to make the commanding officer of submarine school look really great by giving me a job that opened up doors. And I taught the sealed authenticator system that taught the commanding officers of a submarine how to decode the message to know when to fire the missile. It was an extraordinarily responsible job. The men,
Indeed.
those men never saw me the same. And I opened up job after job after job for women. We have women aboard submarines today because people like me and other trailblazers were not, we were unapologetically aggressive. I'm using that word
Yes,
because
that's the
we
word.
opened those doors and we took the risk of failure. Because if we failed, they would never let another woman do it.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it was exciting and scary and absolutely amazing because the Submarine Force gave me opportunities that I can't imagine any other industry giving me. And I got, very well acknowledged by them. I have a meritorious service medal from them, signed by the president. So it was a really big deal for the many, many, many different things that I got to do. So I loved my career. I loved working with these guys. And I learned I was unapologetic about how competent I was. I reached the point, I don't have to keep it subtle anymore. I don't have to play the games. I can be straightforward and get the job done.
That's it.
And manage it. So I feel very strongly that maybe someone who had a very traumatic childhood wouldn't have been able to open that door. But if I open it and I invite you in, that enables me to feel like I made a difference. And that's really a big deal to me is, did you make a difference because you're here?
Well, that's not only unapologetic, but you have emerged. See, that's just another emergence for you, for this podcast, right? Not that we just using the words lightly. So every individual that comes on, they've emerged, right? And you're still sharing your story of emergence and being unapologetic about it. Now, of course, I do believe this has happened. Have you lost relationships or opportunities or support because of you choosing to be authentically you?
I would say that there were people who didn't understand. I If someone is not okay with who I am, that's on them. It's not on me. And I found that, ironically, I would have to say that my mother was living through my experiences, and she would play games where she would try to undermine my confidence.
Wow.
I was being recommended to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff because some of the
Mm-hmm.
things I did for the Submarine Force, which are still classified to this day,
Mm-hmm.
and they were going to send me to the Persian Gulf to do this mission where they sewed classified material into my clothing. It was
Mm-hmm.
really interesting. And she says, "Well, you're really not that good." And I'm thinking to myself, why would you say that? And then I thought, is this jealousy from my own mother? And I stepped back and I thought, I have a 3-star admiral who believes I'm really good at what I do. I don't
Yeah,
need my mother's approval.
exactly. I love that.
I
I
am
love
not
that.
apologizing for being really competent and doing something that's going to affect $100 billion in assets.
Yeah, yeah.
So I am not going to apologize for that. If my mother's upset, and she reached the point she didn't want to speak to me anymore,
Wow.
and she was started to play games between my siblings and pit one sibling against the other, which we figured out. And none of us would ever be on the phone with her after that unless there was a witness. We would
Right.
always be in pairs on the phone with her because she would play this game of pitting a sibling against the other. Long after she
Wow.
died, the siblings the 4 of us love each other. We care about each other. We constantly communicate. So we were able to be unapologetic about recognizing what my mother was doing,
Mm.
stopping her in a karmically correct, gentle way, but
Yeah.
not putting up with it either.
I'm glad that you said that because most individuals who has had to deal with the lack of support, lose relationships, it's not usually friends, it's usually relatives, right?
Right.
That's one of the biggest areas when individuals want to overcome or seek support. That can be one of the areas where there's lack of support or someone lack of belief. I feel like it's not just more like jealousy. Sometimes it's because that person was not able to achieve as much as you did. And instead of applauding that, kind of they feel undermined or I don't know what the feeling is, but I believe that if my child, for example, succeed and go beyond a lot of the things that I have done, I would be so happy and be in their corner. Like my children, I'm their cheerleader, right? I have a daughter that is a local gospel artist, and every event that she has, I show up for it. You understand why? Because I'm there to cheer you on, knowing that I don't even use the sky as a limit because I said there's no limit. When we are Christians, there's no limit. When we are children of God, there's no barrier on the things that you can achieve. Some of the things you can never even imagine, doors that are going to open. Your name is going to be called into rooms before you show up in them. And I feel, Tina, that this is exactly what was happening for you. Your name was being mentioned into places even before you walked into them. And even though that it was a test, and you're like, well, if I fail, this means that someone else won't have the opportunity. So you did your best to pave the way to say, yes, women can, right? And because I can, and because you can, your children say, well, if mom could, I could. Instead of the other way around of undermining, making you seem small, inferior, like there's no success. And I'm glad you said, if a commander with stars found that you are competent and able, why do I have to listen to someone who doesn't even understand what it is that I'm doing? Right? So this is to each person watching today, speak to yourself, talk to yourself, and says, you know what? I'm not going to listen to this noise that's distracting me or making me feel unimportant, inferior, insignificant. You know, you're nobody, right? A lot of people have heard that. Even though you're somebody, someone is telling you you're nobody. Think about that. So basically, that is exactly what you broke. Like you punched that wall down. I mean, you knocked it down with a missile, Tina. When
I
you
did.
choose it, literally, you bust that wall wide open, all right, leaving nothing behind and walk through gracefully. I just literally saw an imagination of a woman with a cape, right? You knocked that wall down and came, ta da!
That's exactly right. Because uh, I had a massive job, and I had a 3-star admiral who believed in what I was doing to such a degree that he shared it with the surface forces and the air forces and the Marine Corps. I was speechless because he said, this is the first time anyone has put it together like this. And he said, how did you come up with this? And I said, well, I imagined that it's my son standing a watch on a submarine and he's
Mhm.
vulnerable because I had $100 billion in assets, 86 submarines, 9 submarine tenders, 3 submarine bases, and the senior Jewish admiral in the Navy to protect from terrorist
Wow.
attack. And it was it was an extraordinarily daunting job, and failure dogs your footsteps,
Yes,
but no
yes.
guts, no glory. So I hired SEAL Team 6 to help me, to teach
Come
me
on.
what I didn't know. And then, oh my gosh, we changed. And I say we because I didn't do this alone. There were some
Of course, of
amazing
course.
people
Hmm.
who, I mean, men and women, civilian, enlisted, officer. There was this team effort to protect a fleet, and there were husbands and wives and sons and daughters. The senior chaplain for the submarine force's son was a topside watch.
Hmm.
He
Hmm.
had a kid on a submarine, and he talked to me, and he said, you got to keep doing what you're doing. My son's on that submarine.
Yeah,
I said,
yeah.
Captain, I get it. I'm working every day, and I came up with this system with this team to change how the Navy did business. And we were able to put this equipment in the fleet, and it was shared. If you go on any base to this day, my plan is visible, and you never heard of me before because it
Wow.
was part of the team, and I earned the karma for
Yeah.
putting all of this out there with the goal of saving life and property, because everything we did was non-lethal. It was
Okay.
designed to be deterrence. So it put me in a position to do some astounding things.
Yeah.
And for some reason, the submarine force believed in me. And I was really honored with that. Really, really honored.
Yes.
And I loved the men I worked with. I loved what I did. So if my mother wasn't impressed, who cares? A lot of other
Yeah.
people were.
Come on. Come on. That's indeed it, because that was leading me right to, the next question I have, like, how did you distinguish between living authentically and simply doing whatever you felt?
Well, I decided that what I was feeling and what was authentically me basically merged. I love humanity. I mean, if you find that you build a relationship with God, personal, private, you don't need buildings of wood and stone.
Hmm.
You need the love in your heart for other human beings.
Yes.
That's first. I don't know those people on all those submarines, but I know
Hmm.
that someone loves them. And I realized that everything that I'm going to do that's going to make a difference, somebody's going to get to go home that night if I do my job really well.
Yeah.
And that included my own husband, who was captain of a submarine rescue ship.
Wow.
And then he was captain of different ships, and he was captain of an oil rig. So anything you do that can help another person,
Yes.
and you're doing it, and you're constantly asking God for the guidance. So you open yourself up to the wisdom of the divine, and you stop yourself and you listen. I would say that there was a merging of my desire to be of service to others was about as authentic as I can be. And eventually,
Yes.
I was only in the Navy 20 years. After that, I had to figure out what else I was going to do.
Right.
And I have a lot of psychic ability, and that has a tendency to make people dismiss you as some airy-fairy person. And I had to unapologetically say, everything I'm doing is based on quantum physics, quantum entanglement, and string theory, and I can prove it to you. And what I did was I stopped apologizing for having this ability and started using science to come back and educate people, not fight them, but enlighten them through the use of science and awareness. And that began to change everything.
Very well. So, what habits, boundaries, or disciplines help you remain grounded into who you are?
I would have to say spiritual practice. And spiritual practice it's more than just your prayers. And for some people it's meditation. But someone I worked with once said it's when you develop a deep and abiding relationship with the divine, it's constant meditation. You're always listening for that guidance. And you're always seeking that balance. But you also have to listen to your physical body. You might be in this lofty place where you're feeling other things, but you're still in a mortal body. And that mortal body has needs: peace, rest, nutrition, happiness, laughter, grounding, nature. And as much as I want to help others, I became very run down. And I realized that sacrificing myself is not the answer. I have to create now new limits, new boundaries, because if it were up to people, I would work 7 days a week, and I cannot do that.
Right.
So I said, no, I don't work on weekends. And when people push, I'll go, you know what? I can't give you my best if I'm as tired as I am today.
Right.
I'm kind, but I put myself first. It's like on the airplane. If you're not breathing the oxygen when the mask comes down, you're not ever going to help anybody else.
Exactly. Yeah. For sure. For sure. So, wow, you've said so much, and you're a perfect fit for living unapologetically you. And I truly thank you for coming back on Emerge and Empower podcast. So before we go, because I always like to bring this back, what would you say to someone who is afraid of showing up for their true self?
At the end of the day, you really only answer to the person in the mirror. And if the person in the mirror is fearful, then you have to own your fear. Once you own your fear, then no one owns you. It's hard to do, but it is achievable. And when you love yourself, it's not narcissistic to love yourself, where you care for yourself. When you love yourself, you become magnetic to the love of others. The more you love others, and you open your heart, whether it's children. I loved my mother, even if she was a difficult personality.
Yeah.
And she had a hard childhood. I get that. So I put limits on her, but I didn't stop loving her.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest lessons is to learn to love as much as you possibly can. Accept that, okay, if you have limits, maybe they are suggestions. Maybe you can go way beyond that. If you can
Yes.
go way beyond that and you take a risk, if you try something and it fails, I had a computer company. I had to close it. It took me 7 years to pay off my investors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it didn't work, but oh my gosh, what I learned along the way. Whatever you're experiencing, no energy is wasted. If you can embrace the energy and the experience, every one of them, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the outstanding, then you are reaching a level of enlightenment and understanding yourself and your purpose here. If you can do that, then you can live unapologetically a very happy, meaningful, and fabulous life.
Indeed, indeed. I love that. You've given a lot of nuggets here. So I believe there's a lot of takeaways for those who are watching. And any takeaways, just drop it in the chat. Anything that stand out from what Tina said, just jot it down, and you found it here in Emerge and Empower. So Tina, we are talking about living unapologetically. So I would like for you to finish this sentence, okay? I am unapologetically living authentically because.
I am not afraid to love others. And love is the answer on every conceivable level. And the more you love, the more you become in resonance with the divine. And that is the most fabulous place someone can ever be. Doesn't matter what your faith is or isn't. When you love with all of your heart what you're doing, who you are, and who's surrounding you, you change the magnetic frequency of all that is that surrounds you. And your life opens up like this beautiful, amazing flower. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. You just took us to Bible scripture. No matter what you have, faith, generosity, but above all else is love. And when you do it in love, that is the best way to live. And I thank you so much, Tina, for being here on Emerge and Empower. Thank you so much. And I'm sure you'll be back again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and bye-bye.
Welcome to Emerge and Empower Podcast TV, a platform where resilience meets transformation. Here, we amplify voices that have faced trials, trauma, and adversity, stories that inspire hope, healing, and empowerment. Every episode brings raw, unfiltered conversations with individuals who have risen from hardship, embracing faith, strength, and purpose. Join us as we break the silence, uplift one another, and emerge stronger together. New episodes air Wednesdays at 6 p.m. English and Saturdays at 6 p.m., with select Saturdays in Creole for our Haitian audience.